specifically on Columbus Avenue, which is in this community, we found that there were 27% fewer injuries overall in the section that was implemented with at least 3 years of activated. That would be between 96th Street and 77th Street. So yeah, this is a major advantage of having something like this on a redesign of this corridor is that yeah, we found that these corridors do become much safer. So getting into the making it work section, now we're going to talk about all the fun truck loading and parking issues. In this redesign, this is once again Columbus Avenue. In this case, we have a mixing zone, which allows for safer left turns. But because of something like this, like the mixing zone, and also because of our traffic islands, we'd be removing approximately 25% of the parking space on the corridor to install these types of treatments. Also, we've been converting specific blocks to daytime, 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. In some cases, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Commercial loading zones on both the east and the west sides of the street. Initially, we had proposed a blanket regulation on I believe it was the east side of the street, where we were going to just convert the entire thing to truck loading. We have since scaled that back to this. It's kind of hard to see for those in the back, but I'll try to narrate it for you. In the spots that are along Amsterdam Avenue, right in the middle here, it's actually going from 72nd all the way up to 110th on the right. The spots that have a color, that means we're proposing to change the parking regulation. So the red color is where we're proposing to install a metered commercial regulation, basic commercial only parking on that block from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's for places that are businesses that need to receive deliveries, but also to basically keep that curb clear, because we need to, being that we are removing a travel lane, we need to keep those 3 lanes that are currently there, that are there in the proposal, as functional as possible as much of the time. So those places were in the red, mostly clustered around 79th Street and up at 96th, where the major turns are going out to get to the highway. We need to ensure that the curb is clear in those major locations. Also, there are in blue, we have that's a combination of either regular metered parking like you have on the corridor now, and then metered commercial. That would either be side by side, so 1/2 the block is commercial, 1/2 the block is regular meter parking, or it might be a time difference. So in the morning it's commercial, and in the afternoon it's regular meter parking for everyone. We have more specifics on this proposal, like line by line, so it's easier for you to go over it and give this to you on paper. Also at the top end, from 106th Street up to 110th, we're currently working with the Columbus Amsterdam bid to finalize sort of their preferred loading situation for that particular area. So this is our best attempt to have something that we think is going to be the case for this meeting, though it may possibly change. Now getting into some more specific areas of Amsterdam Avenue. The Beacon Theater, if anyone who's walked by, driven by the Beacon Theater, you know that there's often either French barricades, tractor trailers, sometimes tents and red carpets. There's a lot of things that are there often, and it's definitely something that we're going to have to work with. Beacon Theater is it's a cultural icon in the neighborhood, so we're working with them. We're definitely working with them to address their loading needs for their load-ins and load-outs for their shows. And so with this, we've been in direct contact with them, and our plan is basically to allow the trucks to continue to use the curbside space, and then to install a temporary protected lane that they can put in and then remove on the far side of all their loading activity. So this would allow the bikes to have a safe space to move through. And when they're not loading, because even though they do load very often, they're not loading all the time, and also they're not usually loading in the afternoon when there would be, when we see peak bicycle volume. Bicycle volume in this case generally peaks in the afternoon or evening. So during the afternoon or evening, the street would just function as normal. In the morning time, when they typically do their load-ins, there would be, the trucks would remain curbside, and then they would have a barrier to separate the truck and their loading activity from the bikes, and then a barrier to separate the bikes from moving traffic. And that would be something that they would put in and remove every time they do a load in or a load out. So that is our, so this would basically maintain mobility for everyone during their load ins and load outs. Also, the Plaza Jewish Community Chapel. In this case, our proposal, we did some analysis on who was making the turn, or how many vehicles were making that left-hand turn onto 91st Street. We actually found that the volume of vehicles that are turning is rather low. Also, there are other options for people who are turning onto that street, unless they specifically have to go right to that particular block. So our proposal in this case is to ban the left turn from northbound vehicles on Amsterdam that are turning onto 91st Street for vehicles. It's actually a bike route, so we're proposing to leave that for bikes, being that they're already on the correct side for everything. So what this would allow is for the chapel to retain its existing no parking area, which they use for hearses and limousines and things like that. But it would just move to the floating parking instead of being curbside. So it would allow them to continue to operate as they do, and as long as we were able to ban that turn. So that is our proposal to mitigate that situation. So this is just a bit of review from the last presentation, but this is our traffic analysis that was done for Amsterdam. This is the Amsterdam corridor. Here we have several cross streets: 77, 79, 82nd, 86th, 96th. The second column shows you the peak hour volumes at that time. So you can see them. They rise to their highest at 96th Street, and then third column being the average delay, meaning basically how long it takes a vehicle to get through that intersection. A vehicle that would arrive on a green light has zero delay. A vehicle that arrives at a red light or the back of a pack of cars has more delay. But we average that all together. Using sophisticated software, we get an average delay. And then the last column is the volume to capacity ratio, which basically measures how full the roadway is. So we have our existing and our proposed analysis for these these 5 locations here. And as you can see, the delay, for the most part, stays the same or doesn't really change that much. In some places it gets a little worse, in some places it gets a little better, which also the volume to capacity ratio for each, for the existing versus the proposed, gets slightly better, and then also I think slightly worse depending on which block you're at.